Hi everyone, welcome to the Old Lady Speaks. We're going to talk about submission today. That's what I promised last week. We would talk about submission because first I went to husbands love your wife as Christ loved the church. And a lot of people have a problem with the word submit. And I think if you have a problem with the word submit, you don't understand what submission is. Take a look at Ephesians 5, verse 21. Submitting yourselves one to another in the fear of God. Wives, submit yourselves unto your husband as unto the Lord. For the husband is the head of the wife, even as Christ is the head of the church, and he is the Savior of the body. God gave us a duty, which is to submit to your husband as unto him when things get so rough and you figure you can't submit. But I'm talking to women who have submitted first to the Lord. Because if you have not submitted to the Lord, submit your life to his, then of course you're not going to like this. You're going to have a problem with it. But God knows how the man is supposed to be because he wired him that way. Men don't want to be in a relationship where he's put down all the time. He's not honored for who he is and what he does. And if a woman is so independent of herself, where she doesn't worry about how her husband feels or what he does, simply because she can make money. So what? Make money. But he is a person, he's a human being, and he's been wired so that he has a wife who would appreciate him, validate him, honor him. That's what you have to do. Why? Because God made him to want it. Just like he has to love you, make you feel needed, wanted. So many times we might say to your husband, you love me, you love me. You know I love you, but we're wired to want to hear it sometimes. So we're to treat one another the way we're supposed to be treated. One thing I do know, God's ways is not our ways. It's not. He said that in Isaiah 55. My ways are not your ways. My thoughts are not your thoughts. We would not have thought of this. No, we want to do right by somebody when we feel up to it. But since it's a order that God has placed, whether you feel like submitting or not, he's already told you that's what we're supposed to do as wives. And when it's too hard to do, when you just feel like you just can't do this, what agreement he's coming up with, or what plans he's coming up with, then just say, Lord, I know what you said. You said I'm to submit to him as unto you. So now you got to do your job. Help me. Because if we do things that he has not put in order, he hasn't put it in place, then it's going to be a problem. It's definitely going to be a problem. So once we submit to him, then it's not going to be hard to submit to the Lord, because we already have that verse there that says, submitting to one another as unto the Lord. And then verse 21 talk about as we have fear of God. Well, that's what's missing. We don't fear God. More people are pro-self and anti-God. They want to do things their way. They want to do however they feel. That's just not how it works. It's not how I feel. I may not feel anything. You know what? We know that we can't live on our feelings alone, because you get up on Monday mornings, you go to work. Do you always feel like going to work? But you get up because you know you should. But when it comes to this work, to his word, we think that we can pick and choose what we want to practice. If we're not feeling this part, we won't do this part. We'll take the other part. No, we got to do all of it as unto the Lord. He said, without me, you can do nothing. So if it's hard for you and you don't quite understand it, then you ask him. He said, because with me, you can do all things. So for the young lady who's not married yet, but she's a Christian, when you hear this, you might be thinking certain things. I don't know what you may be thinking. That may be hard, but it's not going to be hard. And especially when you get the man that he wants you to marry. Many times women pray, God, send me a husband, send me a husband, I want this person. But you don't realize, you may not want who he's sending. He's sending you the person he knows that's best for your future, for your present. He's the kind of man that you want to need throughout your life. So if you trust in him to give you a husband, then you can trust him that your husband will be the kind of man that you can submit to. We're not supposed to submit to a man who wants you to break any kind of laws in the world and God's laws. That's the time that submission goes right out the window. But prayerfully, you won't be married to a man that type of man that want to break God's laws. But for things to run efficiently, if we just do it his way, we don't always know what God is doing. But when I know one thing, when the husband is honored, he can come home having a rough day, and he receives that love. And I love the way the Africans tell their husbands when they come in, welcome. And I thought about that when I first started paying attention to the African movies. I said, that's a beautiful thing to say welcome to your husband, because God has brought him over the highways and byways, and my husband had to go through a lot of traffic on the expressways and stuff like that, and I was happy that he came home safe. So let's just try to do things God's way. Let me show you some suggestions of what you can do when what you should submit to. Treat your husband as you should. That has nothing to do with well, I don't think he deserved it today because what he said to me. We don't do things based on his behavior, whether you think he deserves it or not. Because two wrongs have never made a right, and it will never will be. Seek his advice. Many times women make their own plans and they do things, and they don't run it by their husband, even though it's right to do what your plans is going to work. It's something you've been doing. But he would like to hear, honey, what you think? Do you think my ideas are good? Just include him, even though he's not the kind of husband who will go against it. My husband never was against what I was going to do, but I would say things to him. And even when I was doing some classes at the Bible study, I would say, how that sound to you? And I saw the face one day, he just beamed like, oh, she want to know my opinion. Yes, he does want you to ask him those kind of things. What do you think about this? Remember his requests and preferences. If he's asked you more than once about what he wants for dinner, maybe you couldn't get it ready that week, but the next week, think about what he said he wanted for dinner. Go out and buy that and fix it. My husband was the kind of man who would always say, this was so good, thank you, babe. And if he's not the man if he's not doing that, you can show him how necessary that is, because we all learning. As we get married, we don't come in the door knowing everything. But if you need him to say, I really enjoyed the food, there's a way that will come across, and he'll start doing it. Listen to him. Don't talk over him. I had to learn that too, especially when there's a disagreement. You said when he's saying what he's saying, but you're not really listening to him because you're just waiting for your turn to come up. So you can say what you want to say. That's not really listening to him. Because if you truly, truly listen and not rehearse what you're going to say, probably by the time it's your turn, you won't say it anyway. These are some things that you need to submit to. Understand his job and his responsibilities. So you might be not that tired from if you're working or if you don't work, however. But when you're considering his job and what he has to do, how far he has to come in, you may not plan some activity that particular day because you said no, the weather wasn't good and he had to drive a long ways. So you're thinking about him, and that's what submission is really, thinking about your husband rather than yourself all the time, because it's not about me, myself, and I. Never embarrass him. Please don't do that. He makes you angry and you have company. Please make sure that you keep that to a minimum where you just wait till you can talk about that when you get home. So submission really is something that works for the good of you. It's not going to work for the bad of you. Remember, God knows what he's doing. He's already wired us how we can live together in harmony and unity. So if we're trusting things in the world to work, just like you go out and make a purchase, you trust that car, you trust that the manufacturers have made it right. Trust the one, the creator, that he's made us right. The thing is getting the right person. So I don't want you to always fear that word submit, because it's not a dirty word. It's a good word. And prideful people and prideful women, they don't think about it right. If something is wired to work this way, God says, honor your husband, submit to your husband. Husbands, love your wife. And he meant that whether she's acting lovable or not. We just need to play our part in this role of marriage. And we can stay together. So this is it for now. Hopefully I'll see you the next time. God bless.